Good evening, viewers. This is our 8 o'clock evening Wednesday night news, live from Maidan. Tensions are still high in Ukraine tonight, as we have not seen many positive developments from Putin, and Russian troops continue occupying Crimea. We'll start from a lighter news tonight. Kiev National University has offered to employ Russian professor Andriy Zubov, who was fired earlier from Moscow Institute of Foreign Relations. He was fired for the article he wrote about the situation in Crimea, and Ukraine is ready to welcome people like him and pretty much any Russian citizen who wants to live in a free country. I think while Russia is offering asylum to criminals from Ukrainian special forces who were shooting at unarmed civilians, Ukraine in return is ready to accept refugees from Russia who are running from Putin's regime and who think that they might be more productive in Ukraine while Russia is under Putin's occupation. Kiev is obviously a very welcoming environment for any Russian scientist or businessman, as pretty much everyone here are Russian speakers, and we have a similar culture, and we have lived side by side for years. So this is something that any of you in Russia can consider. We'll welcome you here with open arms, and will help you work for a better future both of Ukraine and Russia. Crimean residents are speaking out today, saying that they do not want the defense from Russian troops. Their main concern is the holiday season, and that is in fact being ruined right now, as numerous bookings were already cancelled, and it looks like the holiday season in Crimea might be lost. This would be a very disconcerting development for most of the Crimean population, where 90% of their yearly income comes from the tourists. We're in turn, obviously, I'm personally ready to support our Crimean resorts in case Crimean citizens are willing to show that they are actually an integral part of Ukraine, and we're waiting for them to come out and speak out against what's currently happening. I'm sure that will draw a big support of regular Ukrainians to their side, and for example, like me, people are ready to move their holiday from holiday plans and spend them in Crimea in case we will see positive developments on that front. Russian troops are being accused of looting. Ukrainian border control agency is accusing Russian troops of looting the equipment from different bases. For example, satellite receiving equipment was removed from Simferopol Avia airline building, and Russians are claiming that they are taking the equipment for self-keeping rather than the equipment being looted. Despite the obvious and contrary to all the mounting evidence, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov keeps insisting that there are no Russian troops in the area. And this is their official position, that people currently in Crimea are Ukrainian self-defense units, heavily armed with newest Russian weapons and using Russian armored trucks with Russian number plates to move about in the Crimean Peninsula. 8 border control regiments are still being blocked by Russian troops. Russia, according to this, Russia must consider border control regiments a vital part in the defense of Ukraine, as obviously they are guarding the Russian border, and they would make the movement of Russian troops through the border very problematic. So that's why we're probably seeing Russian paying close attention to specifically those regiments. There is a plea from the journalists who are currently in Crimea, as they say that Crimea is urgently in need of the Ukrainian deputies and other observers being present and helping document all the facts of Russian presence and of all the crimes that Russian troops are currently committing on the Ukrainian territory. We certainly need more people going there. I mean, we've been the OSCE mission finally arrived tonight in Crimea, but I think we need many more people there to help and dispel all the myth And obviously Russia will be trying to manipulate the public opinion. They will probably try to move about the troops in order to create the illusion that everything is okay. So the only what we can do is to be there in great numbers and help show the world, and especially the Russian population, what's currently happening in Crimea. Today we had the first identifications of the officers involved in the Crimean campaign. Several Russian army officers were photographed and filmed on video, and they've been identified as some of the senior army personnel involved in Chechnya campaign. Those photographs has been published on the internet, and hopefully from now on we'll see further identifications, and we'll obviously place names to the faces that we are currently seeing on the footage from the Crimea. Here I'd like to say a few words about Russian propaganda, as Ukrainian bloggers have pretty much have published a blog today outlining the main headlines and the main parts of what Russia is basing their propaganda to internal population, what they're trying to say. As at the moment it's important to understand that Russia would be unable to do what they do now in Crimea if they didn't have the support of their population. And the support of the population is conditional on what the Russian population believes is happening. Obviously, Russian media is controlled by the Russian state, and it's not a secret pretty much to anyone in the West now what they are trying to portray. So the main points is that the government in Ukraine is being seized by the far-right nationalists and fascists. They are banning Russian language. That's the official party line of Russian state, that those extremists are banning Russian language. They pretty much everyone who's on the street speaking Russian are in danger. They're saying that those people, mainly from the Western Ukraine, are violating the Russian speakers' rights, and they don't allow them to speak in Russian. And the same people are beating up Berkut special forces, and now that Berkut special forces are gone, they are terrorizing policemen and regular citizens. And in addition, this is the first stage of the nationalist invasion of Kiev, and then the next step would be Moscow. That's what Russian television is trying to make Russian people believe. And one of the main accent is on their American involvement in Maidan directly, that Maidan been orchestrated by the American government, as well as being paid by an American government, and this is all the plans for invasion of Russia. This is important to understand what exactly Russians are saying, because I think our main task from now on is to reach regular Russian citizens, because obviously Putin has his own agenda. He will do as much as he is allowed to do by international community, and more importantly Russian people. So it's important for us to reach Russian people and let them know the truth, what is exactly happening in Ukraine. Because to be honest, some people in Moscow who were out and protesting on the Red Square, who were protesting against Ukrainian nationalists, and they were in support of the Russian troops deployment. Some of them were genuinely concerned for Ukraine. They thought that this is what is happening. The extremists are taking over. So we should really carefully consider these points when trying to build our informational campaign for Russian citizens. We also had the President of EU Commission, Manuel Barroso, he proposed that EU Parliament ratifies the agreement for Ukrainian goods to be free of custom duties. That was offered as the gesture of help, as we currently, pretty much it's not a secret that Ukraine is in a difficult financial position, and every little helps. Obviously that would be a very welcome move on the part of the EU. The European Commission also promised that they are ready to support Ukraine in order to overcome the difficulties with potential gas supply difficulties, which we can anticipate from the conflict with Russia. The European Commission has promised that they will assist in making the European gas networks available for the supply of gas to Ukraine. Now a little bit about internal situation in Russia. The main development would be the Russian Council of the Federation, the same council that approved the deployment of Russian troops in Crimea. They are preparing the bill that will allow Russian government to confiscate assets from the foreign companies. The bill also includes private companies. So according to the bill, no private assets of foreign corporation of foreign citizens will be safe in Russia if this law is implemented. They are implementing the law as a response to the proposed international sanctions. I'm sure people with the international community probably will find this development quite worrying, as this is quite an attack on a private property. And the Russian stock exchange continues to fall. We have seen a 1% fall in the price of the total stock. We have not, obviously it was not as substantial as the previous slump, but it still shows that there is no confidence in the Russian stock exchange, and people are not willing to invest in the country where the political situation is as it stands. Now a little bit about international reaction in the world. Moscow has ignored the Budapest Club meeting this morning. This is the Budapest Club is something that was formed in 1994 in response to Ukraine abandoning its nuclear arsenal, and in return receiving guarantees from United States, Great Britain and Russia for those countries to be able to ensure the sovereignty of Ukraine. Russia has refused to attend the summit, and President Putin last night declared that they are not considering Ukraine to be the same country with which they have signed the agreement, which now tables the question, are we honoring the agreement about the Russian fleet in the Crimea, or are we also, if we are offering the agreement to pay for Russian gas, as Putin clearly stated that this is not the state that he signed the agreement with. So perhaps we should look at other agreement that Ukraine signed from that perspective. Hillary Clinton today has compared Putin to Hitler, and in saying that he's as irrational as Hitler was, and he called him irresponsible in his handing out Russian passports to the citizens of Crimea. This actually has been going for quite a while, and we have seen this process intensified in the recent months, probably in the preparation for what we're currently seeing in the Crimea. Now a little bit about internal situation in Ukraine. I think one of the main developments today was Prime Minister Yatsenyuk appointing Deputy Prime Minister Vladimir Groysman to be in charge of power decentralization in Ukraine. This was one of the main demands by the people on Maidan, that we want to see a decentralized power arrangements in Ukraine that would possibly in the future lead to direct democracy. So this is the first step that we are seeing, at least is being declared by the government, that they are actually going in the right direction. So we will keep an eye on Vladimir Groysman and his policies regarding how they imagine this decentralization of power in Ukraine. But this is clearly a very important step, and we should all, everyone who is interested in the topic, should keep an eye on the situation and not just passively watching. If you have your own suggestions, there are a number of groups now that are working on this topic, and you can either join one of those groups or form a new one if there are no groups available that reflects your view on the decentralization of power in Ukraine. It has been reported that Russian citizens are changing into Ukrainian soldiers' uniform. We have reports from Crimea last night that the stocks of Ukrainian uniforms has been bought out from the Crimean stores, as well as some armed forces regiments uniform was stolen from the buildings where it was stored, and we can it might be just a rumor. However, if it is not a rumor and is a true information, that can only lead to something, as the experts describe the Ukrainian uniform being used for supposedly Ukrainian troops handing themselves into Russian troops, so to show that the Ukrainian troops has been demoralized and they are surrendering. So we should be prepared for this turn of events as well. A former defense minister, Anatoly Gritsenko, has spoke out today in support of the dissolution of Kharkiv agreements that were signed by Yanukovych. They relate to the Russian Black Sea Navy fleet that is currently based in Crimea, and it was supposed to leave in 2017. However, Yanukovych has signed a treaty prolonging this term to 2025. Former defense minister has pointed out that this is a good time to cancel the treaty, as obviously Putin is not accepting this Ukraine as a state, and that's why, well, the opinion is that why should we honor the treaty? We have legitimate procedures for cancelling the treaty through the Supreme Council or the Supreme Court. Obviously, this is for the lawyers to decide the procedure, but this is something that is clearly supported by a large part of the Ukrainian population. As we can see, the Crimean fleet, the Russian fleet in Crimea is a very destabilizing factor, and that's something that is allowing them to bring troops onto our territory so easily. In Dnipropetrovsk, we have seen a start for a campaign for peace, which consists of two parts. The first one is an informational campaign called Tell Russians the Truce, and it is aimed at everyone who is involved, who wants to take part, to reach out to their friends and relatives in Russia and really tell them about the situation, how it really is, and try to make them see that this is not a war between Russians and Ukrainians, and this is really Putin trying to destabilize the situation in our country. The other part of that campaign in Dnipropetrovsk is that every participant was handing out white tulips to passers-by, symbolizing love and peace, which is also a very heartwarming event, and I'm sure those who were handing out and receiving those flowers received a lot of positive emotions from that. We have also heard the proposal for the legalization of self-defense units formed during the recent protest. Parubi, who is currently in the ministry, he was in charge of Maidan self-defense troops during the recent past events. He proposed for legalization of these units tabled in front of the government, as this is something that, well, pretty much most people in Maidan were expecting, that people who were defending their country here, those willing to continue that work, can continue it on an official basis once everything is back to normal. Operation The Border has started in Ukraine today. It is aimed at fixing the lax Ukrainian borders that we experienced in the recent years, as no attention was paid to the border between Ukraine and Russia, and that pretty much allowed Russian troops to move in to Crimea so easily. And today we have seen efforts by the Border Control Agency to make a strong move and deploy more people and put the right procedures in place in order to stabilize the situation on the Ukrainian borders. We have also seen the newly appointed Donetsk governor Serhiy Taruta conducting a meeting with the chief police officer of the region, trying to have the police guard the peaceful protesters from the Russian provocators who are continuously attacking them during the peaceful gatherings of activists. And the chief of police on Donetsk region has promised that police will do everything in their powers to protect the people. We are not sure at the moment how it ended, but I'm sure this is a real test for a new governor of Donetsk, as well as for the police chief of Donetsk area. Are they capable of controlling the police in the region? Are they capable of influencing the events in the region? So I'm sure that we'll have some development later on from the region and see how it all played out tonight. In a poll published today, even after heavy pro-Russian propaganda in the east and the south of the country, it shows that 62% of people in Ukraine are in favor of joining EU, while 38% of people are in favor of joining the customs union with Russia. So we can see obviously the big majority on the side of the European Union. However, we can understand that there are some people want to preserve friendly relations with Russia and perhaps even sign some agreements that will allow to trade freely with that country. However, obviously that has to be done on the equal terms and not as Russia is currently trying, and not on the terms that Russia is currently trying to impose on Ukraine. I think on this news we'll end our evening news tonight, and please be with us tomorrow for 8 o'clock news. Thank you. Bye.